Okay, we were at the gas station, just filled this baby up, cost me 15 bucks, the better part of. Took just under 3 gallons. My fuel gauge is glitching. It's been a bit of a pain. Let's see if that did anything for it. We'll pull up the kickstand, that brought it up. No, you can see here, she's still a glitching. So, got to go to the shop. But anyhow, we filled her up. There goes my jacket. We're ready to go. Let's get out and ride. Ride, he said. Always fun to come down to this intersection. I gotta say, sometimes when you come up to a curb, depending on the angle of the coving around the curb, you can be surprised with how far your foot has to go over, especially if you're not necessarily flat-footing your machine. I'm not going to say who, but I know somebody that did get surprised by that and fell down. Nobody I know. Luckily, wasn't hurt. Had a really nice gentleman come over and help me rewrite the bike and everything but talk about embarrassing. I'm just waiting at a darn street corner to make a turn. I roll up, stick my right foot out. You should always stop with your left foot sticking out. Stick my right foot out, never find the ground. I'm going like, oh baby, where's the ground? And just keep right on rolling on over. And once you get about 470 pounds that wants to fall down, it's going to fall down. You ain't going to stop it. So as you can see, my fuel gauge is still on here, and I know I just filled it. So it's just like back in the old days before Aprilia put fuel gauges on their motorcycles. No biggie. No biggie. Anybody behind me? Nope. The sharper viewers amongst you may say, well, Gary, why don't you filter? You're in California, and that's one of your rare privileges. That's one of the few things the state does for you. And I'll tell you why. Unless the cars are pretty widely spread, I find the practice, particularly at a stop, can be a little on the challenging side, especially with depending upon your handlebar configuration. And then people do tend to pull close or not close one car, so you can get stuck halfway down a traffic line while you're filtering. I know, first world problems. All right, we're rolling. I can close that up again. Okay, hey, on to the subject at hand. This is a big one. Get listening. This is what we're going to talk about on this ride. So here's the deal. The deal is that a MV Agusta Brutale is on its way to me, or will be soon. Jared hasn't let me know that it's on the way, but he will. I promise he will. And he'll let me know. So the question is about the MV Agusta. Now, I've tried to remember if it was a 14 or 15, and honestly, I can't remember. But I had an MV Agusta, like people like to say back in the day. That's a nice cool wind on a mesh jacket. And the situation, that was such a beautiful bike. But the situation is that as far as practicality goes, and a Tuono is not the most practical motorcycle you can buy, that is for sure. But as far as practicality goes, MV Agusta might be somewhere a little further down the list than a typical bike. So who buys one? Who buys one? Well, generally, it's not a poor guy working just to make ends meet that needs to buy a motorcycle for economical transportation. Not on your life. That don't happen. So who does buy one? Well, generally, it's an older person, an older rider, somewhere, let's say, north of his 40s or in his 40s, who's got more than one machine and who can probably pay cash for the darn thing, or near cash. I'll bet there aren't a few that are financed or done what the English call put on hire purchase. But having said that, MV Agusta is having a bit of a sale right now, as I understand it, right now today. And they're offering 0% finance here in the Excited States. And that's because, let's face it, they have seen better times in terms of sales. And also, perennially, the MV Agusta factory is in financial trouble. I mean, ever since I started reading about them, they have always been in financial trouble, ladies and gentlemen. So the guy that buys it is an older writer with more than one machine in his garage, and typically is probably either paying cash for it or pretty near cash. Probably doesn't have to finance it anyway. And that person then rolls it into his garage, rides it very infrequently. I'm stuck behind a hot rod Toyota here, so that's the way it's going to be for a while. Rides it very infrequently and enjoys it more for its aesthetic values, perhaps, than as an actual riding necessity rolling along motorcycle. Probably enjoys it more to look at and pride of ownership than actually riding the darn thing. That's just the way it is. That's who owns an MV Agusta. And that's why MV Agusta has maximized their profit-making potential by producing a never-ending series of special motorcycles. They've got the Assen machine, which, by the way, in English might sound a little interesting, but there's actually a racetrack in Germany or Holland, I'm not sure, I'll find out, Assen, that they had success with back in the day. And that's the other comment to make about MV Agusta. MV Agusta was a racing powerhouse. Giacomo Agostini was their factory rider for many years, and that guy was a legend, is a legend. I think Giacomo's still with us, still shows up at antique meets and things like that. And he was one of their prolific winners and placers. So way back in the day, and I'm talking the 1960s, maybe into the 70s, not the 80s, MV Agusta won everything. MV Agusta even put a V8 motor in one of its machines. Oops, that was a little rough on the uptake there. I should have been on a rising throttle. So MV Agusta is rolling along, trading on its past, and producing these special series, Serie Oro, Serie da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and maximizing profit potential while selling these machines for $37,000, $40,000. Even a regular MV Agusta, if there is such a thing, is $20-some thousand. Even the three-cylinder Brutales are really expensive machines. So they have an elite customer list. They know it. They can't produce that many machines. We're talking about production that's smaller than Aprilia's, for instance. And they have a following, a very loyal following, and a legendary name, and they trade on that, as they should. I'm not condemning any of this. This is just how they do business. And they produce these limited named editions, maximize their profit. They slather them with carbon. The performance of these machines do meet the expectations. They are high performance, lightweight machines. However, that does not render them any more practical for the street. So there you have it. That's my little diatribe on MV Agusta, who buys them, and where they end up, and how they are conducting business today. Hope you enjoyed this little trip. I plan to do a few more, let's call them explanatory, explicable discussions of MV Agusta, their marketing, and their machines in the future. And I'll share that with y'all as we go along, just for fun. because I love gears and motorcycles and things, and I like sharing it, and I like to know the history of all this stuff as well. So check it out. I'll keep you informed as that MV Agusta gets closer.